Hello, thanks for hanging out with me today. Now I've built this workbench about 2 years ago now. If you're interested in how, I'll leave a link up here and in the description below. I love it. It's working out really well. It's a decent size, but I still found myself needing more room. So I set up this makeshift assembly area just opposite the bench. It's consisting of 2 sawhorses and this leftover piece of siding from when I built my shed. I'll link that up here as well. But I think I can do better. So I took some 3/4 inch plywood and cut 2 pieces at 30 inch by 72 inch. And a few strips at 4 inches. I then took one of those strips and cut it to the rough length for the 2 short ends. Next, I took one of those end pieces and made some cutouts, and then used it as a template to trace those cutouts onto all the other vertical pieces. I then drilled a hole into each cutout area so I could then use my jigsaw to roughly cut them out. And using a flush trim bit on my router, I used the first piece as a template to copy all the rest. Man, routing is messy. Now I could have just butt jointed everything together and be done with it, but oh no. Can't do things the easy way. No. Instead, I decided it was a good idea to rabbet all the joints. So I used a jig and a straight cutting bit in my router to rabbet the short ends. The jig wasn't long enough to rabbet the long ends, so I just clamped a spare strip to act as a guide.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Yeah, the problem is when I didn't use the jig but forgot to adjust the bit depth, the rabbet suddenly becomes a through cut. Luckily, I realized it pretty much straight away, and after a quick adjustment, I was back in business. I then used my router plane to make sure all the rabbets and the dado were at a consistent depth. A quick dry assembly to see how things are working out, and turns out my center vertical support isn't actually centered. Don't know what happened there. Honestly, I could have just left it, but I decided to reroute the dado in the correct location and then cut a strip of plywood to glue back in place. Now, the ends of the long outside pieces also needed a rabbet. And after clamping them in place, I was able to get the precise final measurement for the 2 short end pieces. Once I fit them in place, I was able to transfer the exact location of the center dado. And then the most action-packed part of any process, the glue up. glue and brad nails should be plenty strong. I then threw a bunch of clamps at it while the glue dried. The next day I used a flush trim bit to trim off any overhang and then a round over bit to ease all the edges. Then it was time to fix my screw up. I cut a small square of plywood at the correct thickness and marked it with my marking knife, and then just chiseled away the excess wood. A little bit of glue and a brad nail to hold it in place, and then some sanding and a round over to blend it all together. Have I mentioned how messy a router is? Next I sanded everything to 150, I think. Now that should have been good enough. It's an assembly table after all. But I'm not one to shy away from some shameless self-promotion. So I thought, why not laser engrave my logo onto this? So I did. Okay. And finally I sprayed several layers of a water-based poly because that's just what I had on hand. And it's done, ready to be used in my next project. Thanks for watching.